Hello, Bailey. I am responding to your paper 2 here. Before the City of Love. The City of Love, which holds the Eiffel Tower in the landscape of Paris, France. The tower started construction in March of 1887 by a French civil engineer with the name of Gustave Eiffel. He built the tower for the purpose of the Paris World's Fair in 1889. Said by Palermo in 2017, the Eiffel Tower is 1,063 feet high. It weighs 10,000 tons, has 12.5 million rivets, 7,300 tons of iron, and 5 billion lights on it. Oh my God. To protect the tower from the elements, the workers painted every inch of the structure. That consumed 60 tons of paint, and to this day it has been repainted 18 times. The tower is also 108 stories high and has 1,710 steps. I've taken the elevator. This is all still impressive, and I didn't go to the top. Anyway, okay, so 2 little things here. When you start your sentence with by a French civil engineer with the name, that's a fragment. You can fix that by hooking it up to by adding the beginning of your thought, which I would say the beginning of your thought is something like, it was designed by, or by adding that part to the end. A French civil engineer with the name Gustave Eiffel designed the tower. So that's a little fix you need. And then it looks like I need to talk about introducing quotes, which I know has been a thing we've talked about here and there. So, yes. Maybe I'll come back to that. So you have a direct quote in here, which I asked for later. So, good. Okay, while the construction was in process, Eiffel said how he designed his own scaffolding system. He made elaborate provisions for the workmen's safety. Mr. Eiffel stated it was feared that, unaccustomed to a very high scaffolding, few could be found not subject to vertigo, but in the tower they did not work high in the air with an open and dangerous footing. They were on platforms 41 feet wide. Interesting fact. Okay, while the construction was going on, and that looks like you cited it exactly right. While the construction was going on, not everyone was thrilled with the idea of a giant metal monument in the middle of Paris. In 1887, there was a headlining on the front page of Le Temps stating, that was my language, protests by artists against the tower of Mr. Eiffel. The artists who protested the Eiffel Tower. 5. Oh, okay, that's your citation. Gotcha. A petition was also signed to stop the construction. More than 40 signatures were down that included some of the most well-known artists. Stated by Toureiffel.Paris said, okay, this is the place you keep getting tangled up with stated by or said by. So I think I'll stop here and talk about that, because I see some other places you're doing it. You're putting your quotes in beautifully. But for these guys, sorry, let me back up and see what I was looking at. I was looking at stated by, said some of the artists. I mean, you're getting the components of what you want in there, which is telling who the source was and introducing the thought. But when you start your sentence with stated by, immediately I'm like confused. Because I just feel thrown off by that as a reader. I think most readers would, just like this, then stated by so-and-so. It's not a common way that we would construct, that we'd set up for a quote. What you might do, lots of other options, you might say, the authors of such and such an article stated that, then start your quote. Or you could do something like leave off that beginning part and just start with some of the artists, you would probably need to put in there, who signed it were this person, that person. And that would work fine. You don't need to mention Toureiffel. I'm just going to be so obnoxious about that. To Paris. because you've told us what it was from in your parentheses down there. So you don't have to do that twice. I will also, I'm not sure if I sent this to you already, but I will also send you again for sure a list of ways to introduce a quote that are a lot smoother. You already know some of them, I can see that you're using, but I think it's really nice to have a kind of cheat sheet for those. Okay, and there's another one that felt like it needed revision to me. Where did it go? Okay, yeah, when you start the second paragraph, said by Palermo in 2017. Again, what it feels like to me you're doing is you're definitely trying to signal, like, here I'm about to give this quote. I'm about to give you this information I got from somewhere else, which is what you're supposed to be doing. But rather than just sticking this chunk there, you've got to really work it into the sentence. So you could do something like, looking at that second paragraph, the Eiffel Tower is 1,063 feet high, according to Palermo. Well, you need to explain something about, like, use his whole name, like John Palermo, who wrote blah, blah, blah. Yes, so any place you find yourself tempted to, and I might miss some of them, start off your place where you're quoting with something like said by, or stated by, or written by. That's not working for you. And I've given you some suggestions, and I'll give you some more. Okay, sorry, let's go back to the main stuff we were looking at. Okay, the artist. A petition was also signed to stop the construction, and more than 40 signatures were down. Then, oh, sorry, I did that one. Also from Tour Eiffel Paris, the protesters were protesting, quote, will the city of Paris continue to associate itself with the Baroque and mercantile fantasies of a builder of machines, thereby making itself irreparably ugly and bringing dishonor to itself? That's crazy. Because the Eiffel Tower will, without a doubt, dishonor Paris. Right. The protesters made comments like a gigantic black factory chimney. So you mean the protesters also made comments about the way the Eiffel Tower looked, describing it as a giant, we need a little something more there. Also a blah. Okay, you have some fun quotes there. Truly tragic street lamp, love it. Belfry skeleton, very nice. Okay. I can imagine being the architect and hearing all the backlash about your newly constructed building. Yes, that would be rough. Sorry, because it's the longer paper. I'm skipping a little faster through this. The guy that was most hurtful to Mr. Eiffel's construction was Guy de Maupassant. I remember his name. I don't know. He said, quote, used to lunch in the Tower's restaurants because it was the only place in Paris from which it could not be seen. Ah, here's another place. You start off with he said, or he stated, or nah, we can't do that. What could you do? You could do something like, he said he used to lunch in the Tower's restaurants. See, now we have a whole, like, just normal sentence that flows. He said he used to lunch in the Tower's restaurants because it was the only place in Paris from which it could not be seen. And when I read, the other reason you can tell that flows nicely is because when I read it out loud, if someone's not looking at your paper, we don't know which part of it is the quote, right? We can only see that by looking at it, which is great. That means it flows right into your sentence, right? Okay, I responded to all this negative feedback. Are we to believe that one industry is not preoccupied with the beauty of one's construction, but it was not seized with elegance? Okay, got a lot of negative feedback, supportive suggestions. Colonel Perrier stated, I believe you did something worthwhile. Okay, so you're talking about, after all the trouble, prejudice getting lawsuits. So controversy, the people that control over the situation can go to the government had control. The artists had an emotional control over people. Oh, that's your best point in here so far. The artist did have an emotional control over the people who built the structure. I like the way you put that. The values are being thrown over respect toward the architects. If losses have gone through, changed controversy, artists have gotten their way. Okay, so here's my questions looking forward. So I'm just glancing at your works cited. again. So I was concerned that, but maybe you do have 3 peer-reviewed journal articles. Now that I'm looking back here, maybe that's all good. It looks like it probably is. Okay, so then the other thing I'll go over a little bit here is the organization. So, sorry, there's like a bird on my window. You start with facts about the Eiffel Tower. Then you go to, he made his own scaffolding system. And that was a place I was like, wait, what? Why are we going from facts to the special scaffolding? You need transition there. Then you go to people's opinions about it. And I think you do have a construction there. While construction was going on, not everyone was thrilled. Yes. And then you talk about the petition. And then you say the protesters were protesting what it looked like. Okay. They made comments like a giant bump. Yes, yes, yes. These comments, and then the Champ de Mars residents also filed a lawsuit against Mr. Eiffel. I think you need, you could have more depth in here in general, like go deeper into some of these things that you just touch on. For example, when you say file a lawsuit, like especially if you use peer-reviewed journal articles, like they should have a lot more detail about like what was the lawsuit, what did that mean, you know, what implications did it have? Because I think that would be really interesting too. Comments on the tower, just their opinion. Yes. Okay, so I was also confused. I think it would make more sense to me. You talk about the protesters, and then you talk about I couldn't imagine being that way, right? But then you come back again to the most hurtful person, and I wasn't sure why you went to talk about yourself, and then you came back to talk about more people who are negative, because it seemed like all of those like needed to be together. And then maybe your discussion about, you know, the personal parts of it maybe could go later on towards the end. Controversy died out on its own. Values you talked about, respect and acceptance. I also think you might consider thinking about just the value of beauty, and also maybe the value of innovation. I think those are things that you've talked about in your paper, but you haven't talked about here. That like a big part of this is, do the people value this as something beautiful or not? And is it important that it's beautiful? Maybe it doesn't even matter. To people in Paris, it does. That's for sure. And also the innovation, right? People felt like it's new. And are they feeling like it's a good thing to have a new, unusual looking building, or a bad thing to have a new, unusual looking building? Okay, and then you came back to stuff about when it got done, how much it cost. It's a very popular public structure. It is now. Okay, not the costs. I'm sorry. With how much they make from selling tickets. Yes. Okay. So the 2 things that you need to work on, to sum up here, I will send you a link to a document with suggestions for how to set up quotes. Some of them you've used, but some of them you haven't used yet. So I think that'll be a good cheat sheet for you for paper 3. And so setting up your quotes, and then also the other big thing is looking back at your organization and making sure you have a solid reason for why something shows up where it shows up, because that's what makes for a really strong piece. Okay, I hope some of that is helpful.